Hello, I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Longtime New Yorkers can remember a downtown Manhattan that was primarily a place for commerce and government, which, except for a few hardy loft dwellers and residents of Battery Park City, pretty much closed up shop after sundown. After 9/11, that changed, and what came out of the trauma and rubble was a new downtown, vibrant, with children playing in parks and overcrowded schools. Who could have imagined it? I'm delighted to welcome former City Councilwoman Jessica Lappin, the new president of the Alliance for Downtown New York. We'll talk about the downtown renaissance, what issues the revival has sparked, and what lies ahead for the area. Welcome.
Nice to be here.
So the Alliance basically manages the downtown business district. What are the geographical parameters of the district?
So it's essentially everything south of City Hall, from river to river, roughly. That's the boundaries of the area.
Now, my experience with business districts, is when, I see the street sweepers in Midtown, and they have on the sweatshirts that say Midtown Business District. That's what I know about business districts. A lot of them, hire people to keep the streets clean. But what else does a business district do, or what else do you do?
So we do a number of things, and that is one of the most important, keeping the area clean and safe, using the tax levy dollars that we have to provide direct service. So it's the people you see downtown, they're wearing red jackets, either cleaning the streets or helping people in need, giving tourists directions. We operate some tourism kiosks. We also have a free bus service that we operate, and we do homeless outreach as well.
Now, the bus service, where does that go?
So it goes sort of around the perimeter, the U around Lower Manhattan.
It's like a shuttle.
Correct. It's free. You can hop on, hop off. If you download the Downtown Alliance app, you can see in real time when the bus will be stopping at different locations along the route. So it's a service that we provide with Battery Park City to serve both the residents and the workers who are downtown. We don't compete with the MTA. We're not duplicating routes they have. We're trying to fill gaps in service to make it easier for people to get around. But in addition to the excellent direct service that we provide, we do marketing, we do economic development and research to try to promote Lower Manhattan and make sure that it is a very vibrant, mixed-use community.
You talked about tax levy dollars that you get. Does every business district get tax money?
Yes. The way it works is every established business improvement district throughout the city is authorized by law to collect tax levy dollars to provide these types of services.
So you get money from tax dollars. Do the businesses also provide?
Well, people can always contribute on top of their assessment, and we certainly welcome that.
Okay.
And to be clear, the residential units don't pay this assessment.
So it's a tax assessment for the businesses.
For the commercial property owners.
I see.
In the district.
I see. The Alliance, how big an organization? I think your website said you're the largest business district in the city.
In the city. We are the largest business district in the city. And I think it has been, as you noted, a very dynamic, changing place, and it's been very exciting to watch because there are a lot more people living downtown, over 61,000 people living downtown.
How many?
61,000,
okay.
Which is really remarkable in a relatively short period of time. But it makes perfect sense when you think about it, because we are I think one of the best transit hubs in the city. 12 subway lines, the PATH service, ferry service, bus service, all coming downtown. We have the ability to connect with the waterfront in a very unique way downtown. That's very special. And now the food, the retail revolution that's on the horizon, there are many more options for people to shop and dine than there ever have been before. And as you said, it used to be a neighborhood that really rolled up the sidewalks at the sound of the closing bell. That is not the case anymore.
And even after Battery Park City, we used to wonder, well, where do they buy groceries? Where do they take their dry cleaning? I have to admit, now I bike down the bike path, so I come down there a lot. But I have to admit, I've never seen a supermarket. There must be something.
There is a Whole Foods.
Okay.
And there's a Fairway coming. So that, even that has really changed dramatically. And what's been interesting is, it's not just that we have more people living downtown, but the type of business downtown has also changed dramatically. And now we have over 800 tech companies who are in the area. It used to be that about 50% of the companies in Lower Manhattan were related to the financial services sector. Now that's closer to 25%. And we have seen, whether it's the tech companies who have really embraced the area, or publishing, which has really begun to embrace the area in a big way. Condé Nast is moving downtown, which is a clear signal. We already have the Daily News and American Media, but HarperCollins is also coming, Macmillan, McGraw-Hill. So it's really been exciting to see that great diversification in more creative industries. And when you have a company like Condé Nast, they're an anchor, and they're going to bring other companies from associated industries like advertising as well.
When did this surge in development begin?
Well, as you mentioned, after 9/11, there was clearly the need for rebuilding, and that has been taking place. And what you're seeing right now is the culmination of that, really, of $30 billion of public and private money all being invested in 1 square mile. And whether it's the World Trade Center site or other development in parts of the district, you know, it's all kind of coming together right now, and it's very exciting to see.
What are the demographics of those 61,000 people? My observation, and this is just from the seat of a bicycle, is that it's overwhelmingly white, maybe a sprinkling of Asian, high income, and what I've heard is that very politically conservative.
You know, I don't like to put people into boxes or stereotype. You know, I think it has been you know, somewhat skewed when you look at the data. If you throw in a neighborhood like Tribeca, which is neighboring, it's going to skew those incomes a little bit higher. Battery Park City is an example of a place that does have a good mix of people in terms of income level. But it's constantly sort of growing and evolving. A lot of the residential that's under construction right now is luxury, so that is going to pull in people with a higher income level. But it's a very, as I said, it's people who were pioneers when they moved downtown 30 years ago.
Where did they move to? Where were they?
Well, you mentioned Battery Park City, but there were...
I don't think Battery Park City is the pioneers.
Well, there certainly are people who lived along Broadway, who lived on, you know, there have been residential units downtown for a long time. And so you've had pockets where people chose to be in a neighborhood where they really were pioneers.
When I was looking at Battery Park City online, you know, they've been there since like the mid to late 80s. It seems, I always thought of them as much more recent, but I guess they have been around for a while. What role, I mean, you mentioned the waterfront. What role do you think the development of the waterfront has played in the development of downtown?
It really is one of the few places in the city where you can have that kind of proximity and access to the waterfront. And so, again, over the next year, year and a half, it's going to change even more dramatically. I mean, starting this summer, in fact, just in a few weeks, Governor's Island is going to be open 7 days a week, and you'll be able to go out there on the ferry and enjoy it. I think it's a very special place, and it has been developed. More parkland has come online in the last year, so people will have a new experience. You know, even if
is that a summer thing, or is that an all year round?
So now
thing?
It's going to be all year round.
Okay.
Yes, it has been a summer thing. So even if you went last summer or the summer before, I would encourage you to go back this summer because it's going to be a different and I think an improved experience. But Pier A, which is as you go around the tip of Lower Manhattan, kind of further around from where you take the ferry to Governor's Island, there's a very exciting development happening in that historic structure that's going to include a beer garden, an oyster bar, a performing arts space on the roof. Battery Park has been under construction and really is going to transform in a significant way the way people can, both locals and tourists who are going to the Statue of Liberty, can enjoy the park. So there is a lot happening right this moment in terms of the waterfront development. And the views from a lot of the office space downtown is really spectacular. And that's something I hear consistently from people who work downtown, is that, you know, that's a special thing. And being in New York Harbor, being connected to the history of the city, being able to see the Statue of Liberty from your office, and that's a very special thing.
It's amazing how, you know, for many, many, many years, Manhattan, which is an island, But you couldn't, you didn't have access to the waterfront. You couldn't get down there. You could
Yeah.
only look
Thank
at
you,
it
Robert Moses.
at a distance. My husband used to say, well, you know, you can't let New Yorkers, you can't give them access to the waterfront because they'll be drowning every day. They're too crazy. But it's been wonderful.
I have more faith in New Yorkers than your husband.
It's a good thing he's not in charge of these things.
But you know, it's an interesting point because there was a parking lot along the waterfront that Battery Park has taken over and replotted and reclaimed for the public. And that's the kind of thing you think, who put a parking lot here? What a crazy thing to do from an urban planning perspective. So I think we've become a little bit wiser as New Yorkers as the generations have passed and have found new ways to access and make that space public because it is a very special space.
So 9/11 was really only a temporary setback.
It was, you know, clearly a tragedy and a very big setback, not just for Lower Manhattan, but for the city and in some ways for the country. But we have certainly rebounded, and I think it's an even stronger and better neighborhood today.
I would imagine that the sort of national determination to rebuild that area, you know, was part of has given energy to the development efforts.
I think that's true.
We're going to take a short break, then we'll be back with more with Jessica Lappin, President of the Alliance for Downtown New York, after this message. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Jessica Lappin, President of the Alliance for Downtown New York. How much influence does the Alliance have on the kind of development that is allowed in downtown Manhattan? And who makes the final decisions? Is it the local community board, or like many neighborhoods, do 50 different city agencies have to vote on, you know, a new parking lot?
Well, the land use review process is the same downtown as it is anywhere else in the city of New York. So if you're talking about changing the zoning to allow something else to be built, that would be a collaborative process where the owner, whomever it is, would apply for some change, work with the city planning department, and then the community board, the local elected officials, and others, the Alliance included, would all participate to some extent in the planning process.
So what kinds of things has the Alliance pushed for? What kinds of things have you opposed? And are there things where you have locked horns with the community board and the local residents?
Well, I'd like to think we have a very good, strong, collaborative relationship with both the community board and the local residents. The chair of the community board is a member of the Alliance Board of Directors, and she and I speak on a pretty regular basis because at the end of the day, we all really want essentially the same things. And I would say what we have been pushing for and will continue to in terms of the Alliance's priorities are, one, as I said, making sure the district is safe and clean, but two, you know, as we look in terms of planning, there's been a lot of growth and development on Broadway and west of Broadway. And we're going to focus our efforts a little more east of Broadway. And Water Street is a perfect example of a very wide avenue that could be a much grander boulevard. And so we're engaged working with city planning, the city's Economic Development Corporation, and owners in the area to try and make it a more lively and dynamic place. We'll be doing some programming there this summer. But over the long term, how do we make it really the kind of boulevard that it could be? It has a lot of potential. The other thing I wanted to mention is since we do have 800 tech companies downtown, we've been focused on both growing that community and supporting the tech community in Lower Manhattan through programming, through networking, and we're going to very actively continue to do that.
What's happening with South Street Seaport, which is an area that I suspect a lot of tourists to go to, but it's not very high, I think, in the consciousness of most people who live in Manhattan.
It's not. It has been in the past a great destination for tourists, and at some point in the past for people who live here. but it isn't, and it should be. So, and I want to be clear, the Seaport itself is not within the boundaries of the Alliance's area. No, it's just to the north. But that said, it's very important for all of us, not just in Lower Manhattan, but throughout the city, for there to be a vibrant seaport, in my view, and a place that both respects the history and the charm and the character of the Seaport and what it means to our city. I mean, it's a very important historical part of our city's success. But for it to be a place that tourists come and residents go, not just once, but go back to again and again. So, you know, I think we've certainly been paying attention, very close attention to what's happening there. With
the growth in the residential population, and obviously the growth in the number of school-age children, one hears about the overcrowding, school overcrowding in the area. Have there been new schools that have actually been built or opened there in recent years?
There have been, and I want to give Speaker Shelley Silver a great deal of credit, because he has set up, I think it's a task force that he calls a task force on overcrowding, and has really taken the lead, working with the community board and others, not the Alliance per se, but has really focused efforts at the Department of Education on dealing with this crisis, and they have been adding seats.
What's happening at Ground Zero?
And before we go, I mean, I think it's very interesting, this question of growth in school-age children in particular, because it's something happening all over Manhattan. You know, there's been 25% growth of school-aged families choosing to stay in the city, not moving to the suburbs. And I think that's just very interesting and a very positive thing for the city as a whole, because we're keeping both that workforce but also the younger generation here and not seeing them leave the way we once did. So I think even though there's some bumps along the way, it's a very positive thing for the city over the long term, and other cities across the country would be very envious of having that problem.
What's happening at Ground Zero? The memorial opened last year. The 9/11 Museum is going to open when? The summer and the fall?
No, the museum is opening on May 15th.
Okay. The Freedom Tower looks like it's reached its maximum height, and going that way. I don't know if I was biking, but I was going that way the other day, and it's just sparkling there.
It's beautiful.
When is that going
You spend a lot of time on your bike.
A lot of time. When is it going to open?
So they are actively leasing space now. Condé Nast, who is one of the tenants at One World Trade, is moving in this fall.
What else is coming on that site?
Well, they are actively looking for other tenants, and you know, it will come certainly at the World Trade Center site. Group M has signed a lease deal for 3 World Trade Center sites. So all of the buildings there have been leasing slowly but surely, and the space is fantastic.
Really?
I've had the opportunity to go and see from 4 World Trade the views, and it's just really spectacular space.
Now the Cortlandt Street subway stop has reopened.
Yes, and the Fulton Street Hub is going to open at the end of June, and that's going to be for us quite a game changer in terms of transportation. You're going to have, you know, I've heard estimates of 60,000 people an hour coming through there, and it's going to be, you know, sort of a mini Grand Central downtown, and so that's on track to open end of June.
There's been a lot of talk about the huge cost of that. I mean, one figure was, well, I hear $3.4 billion and counting. I mean,
so I think and that's the Calatrava station I think you're talking about on the World Trade Center site, which is separate from Fulton.
Okay.
And that's not going to open until the end of 2015, the beginning of 2016.
Okay.
You know, we sort of are where we are on the costs. It's going to be an iconic architectural masterpiece that will greet generations of commuters, and there will be 365,000 square feet of retail space underground in the Calatrava station, and everything from high-end boutiques. There have been rumors or reports of tenants like Tiffany's and Apple to, you know, places where you could pick up a bouquet of flowers or a bottle of wine on your way home at the end of the day. So when that opens, it's going to be quite a signature masterpiece for Lower Manhattan.
Now, I understand the World Financial Center is being renamed Brookfield Place. What's that all about?
It's a rebranding effort, and it is now Brookfield Place. There are some exciting retail events happening there as well. They have a food court that's called Hudson Eats, and that's going to be opening also in the next month or so. And they have some very interesting, hip food options, tacos and parm and umami burger, and so that will be a really great place for people to come and eat lunch. There's also going to be a market called Le District, which is being developed by the Poulakakis family. They are the owners of a number of really great dining establishments and hospitality establishments downtown. And that will bring people who live in the area, in addition to the people who work, to come and shop. And you'll be able to, and as you bike down, I'm sure that space is right on the water, overlooking the Hudson. And the idea that you would be able to go in and shop at Le District, buy a baguette, buy some cheese, sit, they have seating for hundreds, literally for hundreds, and watch the sunset over the Hudson River. It's going to be pretty spectacular.
I have to say, the development that has most excited me is probably the appearance of the Shake Shack.
Everybody likes
I say I'm gonna get on my bike and get some exercise and bike right down to the Shake Shack.
The Shake Shack.
The Downtown Alliance does research. Any interesting findings?
Oh, very interesting findings. You know, one is, and we called it our brain gain study, really focuses on how businesses downtown can access the workforce of today and tomorrow in a way that businesses in other parts of the city can't. And it sort of goes to our discussion before about school-age families choosing to stay in Manhattan and in the city. The workforce, the talent pool that's in Brooklyn, that's in Jersey, in the waterfront there, you know, it's the workforce that maybe a few decades ago would have commuted to the suburbs in Westchester, but aren't. They want to live in Brooklyn. They want to live in Jersey. And to be able to access that talent and have people commute in 20 minutes to your business is something that's very compelling. And our research has showed that. We have all of our reports up online, and I encourage people to go to downtowny.com and take a look, because we do very much value the information and the research we're able to provide and disseminate to the public.
What kind of staff does the Alliance have?
So we have an operations team, we have a team working on this research and economic development, we have a team that focuses on marketing. We certainly, with all of the increased tourist activity downtown, some of it being driven by the museum and the memorial, have started to dedicate more staff resources to focusing on tourism. But in a broad sense, that's where our team is focused.
Now, the whole business about the controversy over the once planned Islamic Cultural Center, that has died down, and that they decided not to develop that. That's gone away.
What I read in the paper in the last week or so is the developer is planning at this point to do some museum, much smaller scale. But the original proposal didn't go anywhere, and he does not seem to be pursuing that any further.
Now, you came to your job as a former city councilwoman from the Upper East Side. What drew you to this particular job in this particular area?
Well, it is a very dynamic and interesting part of the city, and I loved serving in the city council. I viewed my job there as I view my job now, working to make this city a better place with a focus on a neighborhood that has rich history, great character, great importance to our city, but is really moving in a wonderful direction. And the ability to, since we are at this crossroads, help shape that growth is a very exciting possibility.
Lay out for me how you envisage the areas in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, from the Alliance's perspective, downtown's only going to get bigger and better. And I think what we really want people to realize is this retail revolution that's happening, the transformation in food and hospitality. I think that's the change that in some ways is you know, maybe a little bit under the radar, but incredibly significant. And to be able to live and work and enjoy a community in the way you can downtown, that's a unique experience. And people have come for all kinds of reasons, but we hope that they will continue to love Lower Manhattan and enjoy Lower Manhattan in the way that we know they will.
Well, thank you. We're out of time, but I want to thank Jessica Lappin, President of the Alliance for Downtown New York, for joining us today. If you'd like more information on what's happening right now, you can go to the Alliance's website, Downtown New York, downtowny.com. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Cheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.